There we go. So then you see it here.
So you push it and then you start it, or does she do it?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the Wednesday, June 11th, 2025 Placer LAFCO Commission meeting. I will call the meeting to order, and we will now salute our flag. And Sean Lohman, will you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amy, will you call the roll?
Hey, Commissioner Alpine.
Here.
Commissioner Eklund. Here. Commissioner Friedman.
Here.
Commissioner Landon.
Here.
Commissioner Lohman. Commissioner Rohan. Alternate Commissioner Bass. Here. Alternate Commissioner DiMattei. Alternate Commissioner Spriggs. Here. Alternate Commissioner Youngblood. Here. And Chair Gustafson.
Here. Thank you, Amy. We'll now move to item 3 on our agenda, election of chair and vice chair. And we have suggestion in our packet, and I'm open for any discussion. Michelle, did you want to start us off?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to just very briefly go over, you may recall that last year we were trying to get back on our rotation schedule, and so we're back on rotation as the commission had adopted back in 2008. And so for this next fiscal year, the special district the special district member is scheduled to become chair, and then a city member is scheduled to be vice chair. And again, with our policy, it suggests that the current vice chair Alpine, becomes chair, and then of course, you can deviate from your policy, but the staff recommendation is to continue with our rotation schedule.
Thank you very much. And so I'll come back to the commission for any discussion or suggestions.
I'm supportive. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to make a suggestion in the form of a motion that we, I guess the right verb is elect. Is that correct? Or vote? Vote?
Yes, nominate, yes.
Josh Alpine to be our chair. And since Lincoln hasn't had a seat on LAFCO for the leadership since 17 or 18,
Yeah.
for Whitney Eklund to be vice chair.
Okay.
That's great. I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any public discussion? Not seeing any out there, then we'll come back. And all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, well, with that, I am very thankful to leave and move. I've really enjoyed chairing. We've had some really difficult issues in the last 2 years with the Lincoln and many of the controversies that we've had with the Village 5. And it's been an honor to serve, but I am very honored to move. Even more thankful to move. So how's that?
Oh, wow. Big shoes to fill here.
Hey, they're small.
Small. Yeah, small. Yeah, figuratively speaking. I think. All right. That brings us on to our next item of the agenda here, which will be item 5, public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, the changes in approval.
Change.
4.
Oh, item 4. Sorry. Changes and approval of the agenda.
None from staff, Chair.
Anybody from the commission? All right. Can I get a motion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries unanimously. That moves us on to now item 5, public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to speak to the commission on any subject matter within the commission's jurisdiction, but does not appear on today's agenda. Please come to the podium or submit a speaker card. Your comments will be limited to 3 minutes. I have one speaker card here, and that's Ian Gow. Come on up. Come on down.
I'll be snoozing. Good evening, Commissioner, Supervisors. Thank you very much. I'm Ian Gow, Fire Chief of Placer Hills, Newcastle, and Penryn Fire Districts. I just wanted to give you a quick update on our almost 3-year now project to merge and reorganize Placer Hills Fire over Newcastle Fire. I'd specifically like to thank Supervisor Gustafson for all the support and making us get this moving along, and certainly Ms. McIntyre and Ms. Ross here have been inordinately helpful and supportive, so we're all very grateful. We're moving through the process. We hired an outside consultant to look at all the budgets. That has been done, and as we've been talking to you, it shows that Newcastle will fail without going through our LAFCO process with the reorganization. So it's nice to have that documentation. We met with the CEO as required to talk about the tax share agreements. So we're waiting for the sphere of influence, and that'll be coming when we get to it. And all we need from that is to allow Placer Hills and Newcastle to merge, and then we'll get our application before you. We're excited. We're close. But we're in a hurry because we're anxious about losing our Newcastle employees, as well as that station financially eventually failing. And we are highly confident that this project gives us all a win-win. It's the first step, I think, in a good county-wide reorganization. It'll save a very important firehouse, very important firefighters, and probably most important, overnight, we'll turn it into a paramedic fire department. So we'll save lives with all this effort. Hurts nobody, hurts none of our other sister agencies. So appreciate all your support and look forward to your continued help and guidance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else from the public, please come up to the podium. Do I have to turn it on from up here? No. Oh. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Byron Chapman. I'm a resident of Lincoln. And I'm going to point something out that the public may not pick up on, and it's really kind of kudos to Placer County. I've been trying to get more involved, not just in the city of Lincoln and what takes place, but Placer County as a whole. You've probably seen me here more than once at LAFCO meetings, and they have been very, very educational and very useful. When I made a suggestion when I first got here is that the parking not going into it was not as it should have been, and it would have made difficult issues for people to come. And in addition to that, there had to be issues that were taken care of, a lowered microphone, for example. And not everybody needs to know that if you're not in that kind of world. And after bringing that forward, what I simply suggest, and also want to thank you and appreciate it, the fact that whoever's watching this meeting or see it on a tape or whatever, if they have, for whatever reasons, not come down to the meetings because maybe they came in and it wasn't comfortable, they couldn't figure out exactly, they weren't quite right, and it's better to stay home and all that. I'm a big believer in trying to get there, and the face-on-face is so much more important. And with that, the county has done an excellent job, in my opinion. I'm not an expert, but I do live in that world. And you've made it so much easier for those who have mobility issues, whatever takes place. I certainly encourage anyone that has a disability, major or minor, to certainly come down here. Everything is the way it should be. It's easy to get in. The parking is terrific. The restrooms are fantastic. And I wanted to make sure that the effort on the part of the council and the city, you guys have done a terrific job in doing so, and hopefully we will see more people as well. So keep up the good work, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chapman. Any other member of the public in the chambers would like to address the commission under public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment for the people in the chamber and ask those that are online at this time. Is there anybody online? I don't see. Four people? If anyone that is online would like to have a public comment, participate in public comment, this is your chance. Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment and move to item 6, the consent calendar. Michelle, do you have anything to report?
No, Chair, I do not.
Okay. I'll ask the commission, does the commission have any comments or like to pull any item from the consent calendar? All right, seeing none, at this time I'll ask the public if they have any comments to any item that's on the consent calendar. Seeing none in the chambers, I'll ask those that are online. Seeing none from online, I bring it back to the commission for action.
I'll move approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose, abstain, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 7, this is a public hearing item. Boy, I should be.
Thank you, Chair.
But I was going to go through the process,
sure.
if that's 1 second. As a public hearing, usually the process goes, we'll open up there'll be a report from the staff. The commission could ask questions on that report. Then will be open up for the public to comment on the items. Once the public comment period is over, it will be closed, the hearing is closed, and it will come back to the commission for action. So with that, we'll start with the report. So, I can tell.
Thank you, Chair. I apologize for jumping the gun.
No,
I'm
that's
going
all
to
right.
introduce Amanda Ross. She will be providing the presentation today.
Thank you, Michelle. Good afternoon, Commissioners and Chair Alpine. I'm going to be presenting on item 7, the final work plan and budget for fiscal year 25-26. So as you recall, we presented you the proposed budget back in April, and there were some changes that are recommended between the proposed budget and the final budget before you today. The first one is there are revised OPEB costs from Placer County, so they decreased the cost from $158.19 per employee per pay period to $38.12. That's a 76% reduction. The second change is that we are recommending underfilling the vacant assistant executive officer classification with a senior analyst classification. And the third change to the budget would be staggering start dates for the 2 new positions, the senior analyst and analyst 1 position. So the senior analyst would be proposed to start at the beginning of October of this year, and the analyst 1 would start at the beginning of January of next year. And then changes to the proposed work plan. We removed the Alta Fire Protection District Municipal Service Review and Sphere of Influence and related reorganization proposal for a future work plan. Okay, so this is the proposed final budget from staff. You can see the total for expenses is $1.3 million roughly, and it is a roughly 11% increase from the prior fiscal year. Here is the proposed invoicing for the top 5 funding agencies. You can see the variance there for the county, City of Roseville, PCWA, City of Rockland, and the City of Lincoln. And you can see the breakdown chart again. A third of the funding comes from the county, a third from the cities, and a third from the special districts. So this is the estimated invoice for cities for this budget cycle. So it's about an 8% increase. And this is the estimated invoice for special districts, again, an 8% increase. And you can see the breakdown for each special district
Sorry,
here.
Amanda, really
Yeah.
quick. Do you mind just going back to the other slide?
sure.
I looked up
Yep.
at just the wrong time when it left. Okay.
Sorry.
thank
Yep, there you go.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Okay, I got it now. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. And then this was the, proposed invoice for special districts. You can see the breakdown here, and the variance between each special district. If you have any questions as I go through this, please feel free to interrupt me. So then we also provided some alternatives for the commission. Yes?
Do you mind,
Yeah.
on the, if we could just go back on the special district? I think the one that has, I studied this more carefully than I did before the budget workshop. I think the one that has changed, that has impacted everything that I think Commissioner Friedman asked about, is that Tahoe Truckee Hospital District.
Yes.
And that shifted $18,000 worth of cost to the other special districts. So I just wanted to maybe get a better understanding of what happened, just so the special districts understand why they're
Sure.
picking
Sure,
up
I
that
can-
$18,000.
I mean, I heard you explain, but go ahead if you want
Oh,
to.
okay. No. If you.
So there was, from what I heard was that, so COVID, the funding.
ARPA money.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, yes.
We're going to have to reflect that the Commissioner Rohan had to leave for an emergency, and Sherry Springs will be now the voting member for the public member for this item and for the rest of the meeting.
I can just go ahead. Go for it.
All right?
So let me just take the mic for a second. So with the Tahoe
Forest yeah.
Hospital District, there was a decrease in revenue for the district, and so when we were looking at it, it looked like they had a big jump, and perhaps it was because of the COVID, the revenue from COVID and all of those reimbursements, the ARPA money, things like, I'm not sure, but the COVID reimbursements. And so this was the first year. Remember that the state budget, the state controller's office publishes all of the budgets for the special districts about a year or two late. And so this is the first year post that revenue jump. And so as a result, there was a significant reduction to their revenue, and it is more in line with what this district had historically received as far as revenue in the past. And so this is a normalizing, if you will. Now, what that means for the other special districts is that their percentage increased as a result.
I really appreciate the explanation, because I saw the stars that said it was net budget, versus minus expenses, your footnote at the bottom. And I wasn't sure what that meant either, because many of the districts would say their operating budgets, they'd like to be billed on their net versus on their gross, so.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
And the hospital districts have that special legislation. And so that is slightly different than the other special districts, and it is specific to the hospital districts. Because
Thank
as
you.
you know, many of them have failed or are failing.
Great, well, this one isn't, thankfully.
Yes.
Very thankfully, and is thriving, but I just think it's good for the special districts to understand why theirs is jumping more than 11% because of all those configurations. So
Yes.
thank you for that. I think
Sure.
it's very helpful.
So, I'm sorry, just to clarify, so that, the $17,000, this, 17,500 is kind of being spread among the other districts this year and then will normalize in future years?
This is what yes,
Right.
to your first question, but your second question, this is the normalized. So
Right,
going
okay.
forward, you're not, again, as Commissioner Gustafson indicated, they're doing well. You can see that they are projecting revenue as opposed to maybe some of our other hospital districts throughout the state that are having difficulties, but this is more in line with historical figures.
Thanks for explaining that.
Thank you.
Thanks for pointing that out. No, it's important, yeah. Okay, so this is the first alternative that staff has for the commission to consider. So this would be a total of 3, this is considered the status quo, so 3 full-time employees. So this is a decrease in the staff's recommended budget of 3% from the prior year. Sorry, it's a decrease of 3% from the prior year for this budget, for this alternative one. So it keeps the status quo. I want to say it again. I feel like
No,
I
I'm
messed that
really
up.
sorry.
Yeah.
If you go back to that other slide on
Oh,
the
sure.
Forest Hospital District,
Yep.
is there a digit missing in that?
Is there a digit missing?
When it says, under revenue, where it says 20 million, and then it says 65,759? Or is that,
It's 2 million, it's,
2 million?
or,
the comma's in the
oh,
wrong
okay, the
place.
comma's
Oh, the
in the
comma's
wrong.
in the
It's
wrong
I was
okay.
like,
Oh,
wow,
we're
Okay,
sorry
I saw
about
that
that.
the
I got it.
comma was in the wrong
Oh,
place.
that
I
must have
should've-
been a typo.
Okay,
I
thank you so
apologize.
much.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
I know when people see like a minor mistake, then you start going, well, what are there other mistakes? So just to clarify, we did run this by the auditor's office, and they did confirm all of these numbers. So we did have CPAs look at them. So
Okay, so this is alternative one. This would maintain the status quo for this fiscal year. It would be a 3% decrease from the prior adopted budget. So the total would be 1.1 roughly million. Okay, the other alternative is alternative 2. This would have 4 full-time staff, so it would be hiring, I believe, just 1 senior analyst. Yes. So this is a 7% increase from the prior year for a total of 1.26 million for the budget. So staff recommends that the commission adopt the staff recommended final work plan and budget for fiscal year 25-26 via adoption of resolution 25-08 with any desired modifications and distribute it to LAFCO's 44 funding agencies. And then you can see procedure recommendations below on this slide.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any questions from the commission on the report other than what was just already asked? Okay.
I have just one comment
Yes.
to make. I really appreciate the changes that reflect some of those concerns. At the budget committee meeting, we did have a discussion on priorities for the work plan, and we did, you did move one project off of the work plan for this year with all the alternatives, or just with a revised alternative?
no, that was with all of the alternatives. I believe that that I had it as a contract, which is the minimum that we should be doing for that district. But again, that it's actually much more involved, because the district, in essence, because they've contracted out their fire protection services, they're operating really more appropriately as a park and rec district, since they have their community development. And so it's not just a matter of looking at their contract, even though, again, that's been on our work plan for 2 years. We need to do a more comprehensive analysis. So that's why the push is not just to do the contract review, which is what was there under, the past 2 years work plan, but it's more of a comprehensive effort to really look at various options for this district.
Great, thank you. And then I think the budget committee had some discussion on priorities if we chose a different alternatives, because obviously that has a work impact and what we could produce.
Yes, and
so I saw some narrative on that, but I wanted to be clear, I'm fine with supporting the budget that you've recommended. I don't need that work done, but to be clear, having priorities was not meant to do anything further than to explain to our members what we might not get to if we didn't fully fund.
So I want to apologize. I did hear you at the last, at the budget committee meeting, but those were prioritized, and so as high, moderate, and low before, and I neglected to say that. And so that had already been there, those priorities. And they remain, and you'll see it in your board packet on page 64. For example, are the high priorities. You have moderate You know, again, the next page, right, with the administrative projects, et cetera. So I did neglect to say that, and that it had already been done.
Okay, thank you.
Any other commissioner comments at this point?
I just want to say that I was happy to see that the suggestions from the budget committee were implemented and everything was addressed.
Okay. With that, I am now going to open up the public hearing for public comment. At this point, members of the public can speak to this item. Please come to the podium.
Good evening, staff. Commissioner Alpine, congratulations.
Thanks.
Commissioners, thank you. Dominic Casey, City Manager, City of Roseville. I just wanted to come and voice my support for the budget and the work plan. A lot of work to do, I see that, and there's a lot of work coming, and so I do encourage you to work to get the staff on. Qualified LAFCO staff are important, particularly for one area if we do need to expand, like cities and counties, when more work comes in than we have staff for, sometimes we need contract staff to help, and full-time staff can help with that. So I encourage you for that. And I also just want to thank several of you for reaching out and engaging, not just me, but the other managers in the process. It shows good partnership. We really appreciate that. It's one of the great things of being in Placer County. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Any other member of the public would like to speak? Oh, Andy. Hello, Andy.
Hello, Chair Alpine, members of the LAFCO Board, Andy Sisk, County Auditor Controller. So I'm coming to talk about the 25-26 work plan. One thing I would love to see the LAFCO Board prioritize is the Suburban Pines Community Services District. Sometimes it's referred to as Suburban Pines Fire, Suburban Pines Water. I'm learning our community services districts provide a wide variety of services. The issue with Suburban Pines is it's been inactive since 2008. And so we need to get this resolved because the auditor controller is responsible to make sure these districts are audited. Suburban Pines has not been audited since 2008. We are still submitting reports to the state controller. There is a mechanism to inactivate special districts that was added into code for the state controller to do that. But until they have no assets, you know, we're at the mercy, I guess, of somebody, and I don't know who the somebody is, to basically dissolve this district. And it's my understanding PCWA doesn't want to provide the service, Colfax doesn't want to provide the service, the county doesn't want to provide the service. So who is serving the residents of Suburban Pines? I mean, I really don't know who lives there. I guess I care because I'm part of the county and I live in Lincoln. But regardless, I'd love to see something get resolved there. Currently, the balance has grown to about $88,000. It's not chump change. I mean, but I think the reason nobody's wanted to take it on is that the property taxes are not sufficient enough to take care of the services to be provided. So I'd love to see that elevated on your work plan and not just dropped off since we've been working on it so long. I'm concerned about our cemetery districts. And I know that's in the work plan. My primary concern now is Colfax Cemetery District, who has one trustee, and they're getting probably close to being quote unquote inactive. And as the auditor controller, there is only one person, and it's a volunteer, and God bless her for leading the charge, but there's no checks and balances. So at the end of the day, I feel like as the auditor controller, I could be liable for issuing checks on their behalf, and again, there's no checks and balances. I know county council's researching this for me on the county side. Along the lines of cemetery districts, we do get a lot of requests from consultants, and I was a little surprised that consultants, again, were asking for quite a bit of information from my property taxes division. I did reach out to Ms. McIntyre. She informed me it was in last year's strategic plan. I don't have the time to review all of the budgets and strategic plans for every entity. I'm really focused on the county, but I'm going to have to pay more attention to what's going on in LAFCO because it definitely impacts my office, and it definitely increases the workload, so much so I now have a dedicated manager over special districts. I had to add a property tax analyst to the property tax division. It's a lean, mean division of 4 people, but more than likely I'm going to have to add a 5th. And then I'm also trying to put a spotlight on the fact that many of these districts are struggling to get audit services, bookkeeping services. We've moved many of them to 5-year audits. Even if you move them to a 5-year audit, it's very difficult to find someone to do the audit, and everybody's looking at costs. And that's one reason to move to a 5-year audit. But then what happens in between those years? And I'm supportive of 5-year audits, but at some point, something's got to give, and I'm not sure what that is, but I'm trying to rattle the cages with the California Special Districts Association. It seems like all they care about is the large special districts. I'm really concerned about the smaller special districts and what we can do to try to help them out. So thank you for listening, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Andy, for bringing that all up and for your comments, and we'll be following up with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member from the public like to speak to this item during the public hearing? LAFCO budget, going once, going twice, wait, and then I'm going to ask the people online. So the people online, this is just people in the chambers. Anybody else in the front? Okay, I'm going to close public comment for the public hearing for the people, public comment for the people in the chambers. Now I'm going to ask those that are online that would like to participate in this item. Sean?
Hi, Chair, and hi, Commission. Apologies that I'm not there today. I had something come up, but I just wanted to echo Dom's statements. It's not easy to have 3 or 4 city managers and the CEO of the county sitting in the back at a workshop eyeballing a proposed budget when that is the world we live in every day. And so I just really appreciate LAFCO taking the time to take some of those suggestions and give a menu of options for the board to consider. I was supportive of the original budget, and I'm supportive of this one too. I think that it's going to create much better customer service across the board, since you'll have, instead of a party of 1, you'll have a party of 3 or 4, which is great. So super supportive, very thankful for all the feedback and for getting to work collaboratively with Michelle and the board. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Sean. Any other person online would like to participate, speak to this item? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing portion, or the public comment portion of the public hearing, and bring it back to the commission for action. And there is a resolution 2508 in front of you.
Okay. Well, I would make a motion.
I
I'm
believe
sorry.
I-
Oh,
That's okay. I'm sorry, I just had a comment after the public hearing. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Sisk for not calling me out by name. We are trying to get those audits done. It's very difficult. I can attest to everything you said, and I appreciate your comments. And also, Commissioner Eklund, I echo your comments. After the workshop, I've gone back through my notes, and we did try to look at how adjustments in the budget might impact the work plan for staff's benefit, for everybody's benefit. And I know you went through this carefully, and that's why you removed the one that you did. So I just want to echo, I appreciate the work that's been done on this, and I can support what you've done. I just don't want you to kill yourself.
All right. Thank you. Any other commissioners or action? I hear there's a motion kind of floating
Yes,
out there.
well, I would be happy to move approval of our final work plan and budget for fiscal year 25-26.
Can I get a second? All right, and I believe that's resolution 2508.
I wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
The motion is the staff recommendation. Is
Yes,
that
Right.
correct?
yes, I apologize, yes.
With that, can I please have a roll call vote?
All right, Commissioner Eklund,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman,
Yes.
Commissioner Gustafson,
Yes.
Commissioner Landon,
Yes.
Commissioner Lohman,
Aye.
let's see, alternate Commissioner Spriggs,
Yes.
and Chair Alpine.
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you. That brings us on to our business items. 8A, it's the Executive Officer Evaluation Form and Review Process.
Thank you.
Ms. McIntyre.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to remind the board that I believe it was in February, you, that you appointed members of the commission to the Personnel Committee and assigned various tasks. One of them was to create a new evaluation form. I think the feedback from the commission last year was that the evaluation form that you had used in the past 2-3 years was, maybe not sufficient. And so the committee met, and they, as I noted in my staff report, we went through all of the different samples that we received from the other LAFCOs and the county, and really combed through and picked out which ones that they liked and didn't like, and so we put them together, and I'm going to turn it over to Chair Eklund or Commissioner Alpine. I don't know which one of you wants to talk about the packet that you prepared for the commission, which it begins on page 74, and they really did the bulk of the work to put this packet together.
Thank you. Would you like to give that report?
Sure. I was not prepared to do this.
Either was I.
I'm gonna
I
read
was going to say that really.
I can do it if you want.
It's okay, I'll wing
Commissioner
it.
Eklund really did a lot of the work. She took to the task after the personnel committee and went right at it, and I believe we had drafts flown by the next morning and adopted what's before you by a Friday afternoon or Friday late morning. She worked very diligently, and I appreciate your hard work of getting it done. And that's the form that is in front of you today. If there's anything, we'll have the report after public comment. If you'd like to make any changes or reviews in the discussion, we'd be more than open to hearing that from the commission. But like we say, this evaluation would become the standard valuation for this or any future type of executive director evaluations as we move forward, once adopted.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
So is this form the recommended evaluation process?
It's not the process,
Okay.
it's the form.
It's the form.
So
Okay, I
there's
just wanted
two
to
parts to
clarify
this
that.
agenda item. There's an A and B.
Okay, thank you.
So A, to what's right in front of you right now, is just the form, the evaluation form, to standardize the form. So we have consistency in the evaluations as we move forward as a commission. Yes.
As far as the process goes, it was such a tight turnaround. I mean, it was a tight turnaround for me to put together the recommendations, to put together this form, to then bring back to the commission, that then also to go through legal, and we haven't even gone through HR. This was just the preliminary form to bring back to you, that we didn't feel it appropriate to even think about the process yet, because then we would be skipping this crucial step. So, yeah, we didn't get there yet.
And then the second part of the item will come back after if this form's approved or not, but the second part of the business item 8 is the process that I think that is before.
Yeah,
Correct?
I'm sorry, I turned it over. I didn't want to read the staff recommendation without the full. But anyway, the recommendation is to consider and adopt an evaluation form, so that's the first. And then the second is to consider and establish the process. So I didn't want to, I wanted to recognize the personnel committee, because they did do a lot of work. For those of you that were there, we were there for a couple of hours reading every single. So I wanted the committee and also the chair and the vice chair to be recognized for all the work that they did. But there is a summary on page 79 of all of the considerations that they made. And again, this was written by the chair of the personnel committee, and you did a great job. So I wanted.
Thank you.
So I apologize for not reading the staff recommendation sooner.
Yeah, thank you.
So,
I was just going to compliment, I think the new form, I think I inherited the form from the previous chair and passed it along for the next 2 years that I was in charge as chair. And this is a much more comprehensive form, and I appreciate it very much, the work that went into it.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the commission?
Are we just discussing form right now?
Just form, and then I'm gonna bifurcate the item
Yeah,
to A and B.
I
So,
think it turned out great. Excellent work, Whitney and Josh and Michelle. Really appreciate all your work. I think it turned out beautiful, and I loved, you really pulled together all of the complicated 12 different forms into something that's really manageable and turned out great. So I really like it.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I'm gonna open up the item 8A, which is just the evaluation form for public comment. Anybody from the public like to speak, starting with those in the chamber? Please come forward. Mr. Chapman.
Thank you. Once again, Byron Chapman from Lincoln. This is all a learning process for me. What I would like to find out, if possible, is for certainly myself and maybe anyone else out there, is there, it could be a really brief review, if you will, just some of the highlights as to the reasons what you were trying to improve upon. For me anyway, it would help me understand what it was versus where we're going rather than just picking up where we are. I don't expect anyone to spend a great deal of time on it, just maybe a couple of highlight points where it kept popping up for various people and somebody noticed that maybe we could do something about this. Just a small background on it would be appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to direct you to page 80 of the packet, and there is a compare and contrast. So the original evaluation form is in the middle, and then the revised evaluation form, and you'll see the differences in each of the different categories. And again, this was the work of our chair and vice chair, and certainly not from staff, and it's really well done. So it is in the packet, and it is a breakdown of every single category that's in the evaluation form.
Any other members of the public like to speak in the chamber? Seeing none, I'm going to ask those online. Anybody online like to speak to item 8A, which is the form, standardization, or the future form of the executive director's review? Seeing, hearing none, I'm going to close public comment and bring it back to the commission. And just to answer Mr. Chapman's concern, what we had over multiple years is all different type of forms. Usually the chair would gather with the commission and present a form or present what they thought would be a good way of getting solicited information for the evaluation of the executive director. The commission decided to kind of standardize the process a little bit so the forms didn't vary, and there would just be a little bit more consistency in the reviews as we move forward. They wouldn't kind of have a wide range of different elements that just showed up that just showed up relatively new or short term. So it would be able to track a variety of categories and get a wide variety of input. So you have a more holistic, standardized approach for the evaluation. Thank you. With that, I'll ask for some action on item 8A.
Well, I will move approval of adopting the evaluation form from the executive officer classification.
Okay, can I get a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries unanimously. Now we'll get to item 8B, which is the process for this year. Ms. McIntyre, would you like to?
Sure. So there is the personnel committee had made a motion to to allow other the other commissioners that were not in the personnel committee to submit different evaluation forms, and we did receive a letter and proposal from Chair Gustafson, or then former Chair Gustafson, and it starts on page 84 of your packet. And sorry to put you on the spot, but I'm going to turn it over to you.
No problem. I was prepared. So having done I think I've completed the review 3 times, one under, I don't remember the review with you, but I do remember when Commissioner Burris was chair and we did the review, and then twice with me. Both times because we were kind of reformatting LAFCO. We had a pretty inactive LAFCO, and I don't know how prior commissioners did reviews. So how we did it is what I suggested in option 1. The status quo was the chair collected all of the evaluations, actually put them together, and then delivered with the rest of the commission in a closed session, duly noticed meeting, the review to the executive officer. And then as I reflected on it, I thought, well, really, it might be better to either have a neutral person such as county HR, but given some of the diverse thinking between members of the commission, I felt like, well, is county HR respected to do that work or not, or trusted to do that work? So that's another option. Another option that was raised, and I wasn't at the personnel committee meeting, but I'm familiar with 360 reviews, and we're actually engaged in one right now with our county CEO. And I've also had them done on me for the years I was a general manager. So I was familiar with that process, so I laid that out with our HR department. They have a contract with Wiley Systems for Checkpoint 360. It's not a very flexible system. You can't change the questions, but you can identify the skills. But that allows you to go out with a 360 to people that the executive officer has worked with, other districts, city officials, the special districts that she's worked with over the past year for their input, as well as employee input. And that way, the reason you call this 360 is you have your superiors, your peers, and then the folks under you all feeding into that evaluation format. And then the fourth option that actually I talked to several of the city managers to see if they had outside independent folks, because again, I felt like I wasn't sure where the trust was between commissioners and between city and counties, and should we just hire an independent person? And there's 2 proposals in there. One recommended by a couple of the cities was Mary Egan. She's certainly also done work for the county in the past. And then a new name that came up through Mike Lucan, who is doing some interim work for Tuolumne County, but has a broad background in LAFCO as well. He recommended this Rosemary Marino. So I bring those forward to all of you as to if you want a different process to include this form or not. I mean, I assume we're including the form, we've just approved it, but to have an independent person consolidate those results and potentially reach out to others to participate. But that was, I wanted to put that before the commission and get your input. And let the chair take it from there.
Thank you.
Because as the past chair, I can tell you, it's a fair amount of work to bring all of those disparate opinions and reviews together, to process them, and then to produce the report. I do think having some professional HR help would be improvement, and whether that's the county or an independent, I don't have a strong opinion, other than I think having an independent person might be beneficial.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission on the report or this item 8B?
Oh, it's right here,
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I should probably, I'm not used to it.
I do. Well, I'm going
like
to
a
raise my hand
spaceship.
anyway, so it doesn't matter. I do have a question because I did say, so when the Personnel Committee met, I did share my enthusiasm for 360. I've gone through them myself too. I know a lot of my corporate public affairs clients, my public agency clients. I think they're very good, very, very good for a number of reasons, but then also as you try to scale an organization and you take all of the personalities out of it, it really makes a process, a very clear process. Now, I did have a question though, because it was unclear to me from the proposals. I get option 3 very clear. That's the checkpoint 360, that's a branded thing, that's what they do. With the option 4, either of those names that are being put forward, like, do they still do a 360 type thing? That was not clear to me. Like, how does that work?
They can do, both expressed an interest, they could do a full 360, they could interview a limited number of others. I heard that there was some concern at Personnel Committee on whether employees should be involved or not, and so you could do the commission could determine and negotiate with them. And so I said, well, just give me a range of costs then.
Okay, so we could.
So
oh,
I think it's up to, I would suggest the personnel, or the chair and vice chair, negotiate
I see.
for the appropriate number of reviews and who provides input. And whether that's the same form we've used, or if it's a modified form. So I think both of those individuals came highly recommended as HR professionals and having training. But again, they couldn't propose an exact number because I didn't know what the commission wanted to do. Do you want to do 30 interviews? Do you want to do
Got it.
5?
So essentially, they can still do that. Now, my next
Yeah.
question would be, is if we go for one of the options, like 3 or 4, that would be an additional cost. Like, where in the budget that we just adopted does that come from? Would that come from?
That's a good question.
Okay.
On option 3, the charge is $400.
Okay.
So I would think that's doable. The other ones are more expensive.
I want to maybe clarify the 4 options, and they don't have to be as exact. And, Commissioner Gustafson, please let me know if I'm off or not. The first option is the same way as we always did it with the form we just done. Chairman, send it to you, collect it. I collect it all, work with the attorney, make a final, or work with someone, put them all, get your thoughts all in one form, and present it. 2 is run this process through the county HR deal and have them run the evaluation process with us. 3 is soliciting someone to do a 360, an independent review that would look beyond just the commission, with the people that our commission interacts with, and other things would involve a 360 type review. And 4th would be kind of like 1 or 2, but with an independent person, not with county HR, an independent HR, someone perspective of leading the evaluation. So.
I'm sorry, that's not what I understand.
That's what that's why I asked for
No,
clarification.
I thought option 4 is doing a 360, but with an independent firm doing a 360. So 3 and 4 are 360s.
No, I think it's an
different way
independent.
now?
I had to
Okay.
correct that. I apologize. I corrected that with both of them, that originally I talked about a 360, but then I said, I can't predict if the commission wants everybody interviewed or just the city managers or some of the special district. I don't know how
Can
many
I
interviews,
chime in?
and I
Yes.
don't know.
Yes.
So there was flexibility there. Sorry.
Sure,
Okay.
no, that's
Can
fine.
Sorry, can I just take this in a different direction? I kind of put some notes together, just looking at the full picture. I think I would like, I think this is a great idea if we decide to move it to a 360. It could potentially be a great way to do the evaluation. However, I respectfully request that we table this from today's agenda, this part, because discussing
the personnel evaluation process in a public setting prior to reviewing by the personnel committee. Again, it feels like we're jumping over the top of what the personnel subcommittee was designed to do. Is procedurally more appropriate, and it risks not doing so risks undermining the structure we as a commission have put in place. It was formed to deliberate on evaluation methods, recommend best practices in alignment with the commission's duties and applicable employment laws, as well as Government Code 54957, which allows personnel matters to be handled in closed sessions to protect both our agency and the employees. Therefore, I would like to move that the item be removed from today's agenda and returned to the Personnel Subcommittee for proper consideration.
Okay, that's good. All right, we got that. I didn't. This was just on the questions of just the report, but I'll have to refer this to our council, Mr. Walker. Can this take place? Does this conversation have to take place in a public hearing, or in public, or how can you approach this?
Well, with respect to the discussion of the general evaluation of the executive officer position, that would need to take place at a public meeting, either before the personnel committee or before your full commission.
And our personnel committee is public.
That's correct. So with respect to your motion, there's nothing illegal or legally improper with that motion if it were to be approved.
So would then be in front of the commission if it was to take this other alternate way? The commission would have to, the personnel committee could come up with a recommendation, but it would still have to come before the whole commission of the recommendation that they made.
That is correct.
We can look at it all together, have some more time to look at all the different evaluations.
That's
and
fine.
Bring it back to the full commission.
My only concern was making sure we delivered a timely review to our executive officers. So by delaying it, I'm not sure, since we're all here talking about it, I don't know how much more the personnel committee wanted to discuss it, because we've just formed the personnel committee. So it's a new thing that we haven't had before, and so my experience was otherwise we could proceed with the commission's part of the review.
Well, if we decided to spend X amount of dollars, it just gives us a little more time to look at everything, and then, that's my
Frankly,
thinking.
I'm just going to ask, just for the clarification of the 4 items, right? That the public still gets to speak to this before we make any action today. So, because it is on the item. So, there's just the 4 methods that were out there, right? There's either others, but like I said, was either the standard way, what we always done with the commission by itself, use the county HR, use the 360 method, or use an independent method, right? And is that the clarification of the 4 kind of methods that are kind of being proposed about how to run a review? And Commissioner Lohman.
I'm not opposed to table of this item, because if we're gonna look at option 4, I'd really like to have the personnel committee get a better idea of scope of what they'd like from that, and then be able to get a better cost so we can actually evaluate all 4 options on an equal playing field.
That's great. So before we actually ask for action, I'm gonna stop unless there's any questions about the content of the report or the staff report in this item. Then I'm gonna open up for the public if they'd like to speak. So the last chance for any questions from the commission of what's before us, okay? With now, I'd like to open this item to the public. Those that are in the chambers, if anybody here would like to speak to this item, 8 Bravo, please come forward. 8 Bravo. NATO fanatic.
Good afternoon, Michael Garabedian, Placer County tomorrow. I go way back with LAFCO, back to 1974, I've mentioned that before, and then I followed the work of the Commission on Local Governance in the year 2000. I went to a couple of their meetings, subcommittee meetings, followed that process, and have some strong comments about that. But I wanted to talk about a few things that have been said here. First of all, I think every one of you know that LAFCO is not a Placer County agency. However, it's treated like that online. You go to the website and it looks like it's a Placer County agency. But in that regard, quite specifically, I'm very concerned about using county HR. I think that is not a conflict of interest, but bordering on it, because you are independent. You have to decide things that between, or at least observe things between the county and cities and different entities. So I urge you to not use HR as much money as it might save because of your fundamental role. I guess that's the main thing. I did attend, I think 2 meetings ago, the Personnel Committee, and I felt it was a little small, and I felt it was a situation where one person could sort of dominate the whole agenda the whole time, push. That's just an observation. I don't know if it's got a full membership or not. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other member of the public like to speak to this item? I don't see none in the chambers. I'm now going to close public comment there and open it for the people online. Does anybody online like to comment on item 8 Bravo? Seeing none? Okay, I'll bring it back for action.
I just comment. I mean, I don't feel super strong either way. I do think there's some benefit to kind of identifying maybe a direction for the personnel committee to be able to say, okay, well, we're leaning toward, I agree with Mr. Garabedian. I think making a distinction and having this separate from county HR, just better perception, better with everything. So personally, I would feel comfortable saying, you know, let's look at option 4, send that to the personnel committee, and have the personnel committee lay it all out and make it narrower so that we can actually have financial implications of what that might look like.
Yeah, and I would, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would agree with that, and I do like the idea of gathering for the Personnel Committee all of our perspectives on interviews, how many outside people, and is it a 360 or not, because that will define their cost and their negotiations with the outside folks, so.
Any other commissioner comment?
Commissioner Eklund, would that meet your request, or how would you feel about that? Okay, so now I'm getting confused.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're saying that we would only go with option 4 as a process, and that would be deliberated in the personnel subcommittee to bring back to the commission as a recommendation?
I believe that is my understanding of what's being proposed here, is the elimination of the other 3 options of bringing 4 to the commission, saying that, and what being an independent review, and that independent review the idea that it's going to be independent being discussed at the personnel committee and shaping what that independent process would look like.
Yeah, because option 2 and 3 are both county. So option 1 would be the only other option left, which would mean we just do it ourselves and then give it to you, which I really think having an outside perspective to gather input from others outside of just ourselves would be super helpful. So to me, I'm kind of just narrowed down to option 4 just by process of elimination, and then sending that back to the personnel committee to say, can we have them delve into that more? I personally feel that we should think about the process further than just having option 4 and not having the evaluation form at all. So I think that it would be better, versus narrowing it down, to discuss and dive in to just what the 360 is and the options as a process to the entire process. Looking into that as a suggestion, but not deleting the option 1, or something hybrid of option 1 and 4, which could potentially be the process of an evaluation form, or this evaluation form being modified to, at no cost or additional cost, be activated to external stakeholders through the commission. That's another option that was, I know, something that I wanted to talk about when we got to the process, that maybe there's something more fiscally responsible, especially since staff went through so much work to remove, 11% of our budget. I feel like it would be very considerate of us to look at that as well, seeing how we were so concerned about the budget.
Excuse me, Chair Alpine, if I may, as a,
Yes.
as a point of order, Commissioner Eklund had made a motion, as you recall, prior to public
Oh, yep.
comment. While Commissioner Lohman voiced support for it, there was not a formal second at that point. So I didn't interrupt the discussion because part of it is for Commissioner Eklund to essentially finalize her motion.
Right.
So you can ask for a second of that. So I just wanted to just make it clear to the commission and people watching, that's the point of order we're at this point.
Correct, and I appreciate, Mr. Walker, you bringing that to a point. I just figure we are in a discussion. There's two ideas that we're trying to figure out to come up with a motion for direction. So I don't think there's a formal motion made. There's an idea, one of tabling, the other one of only looking at 4.
Can you remind me when the next personnel committee meeting is?
We'll have to schedule one.
Yeah, okay. Do that really quickly.
And maybe just for feedback to the Personnel Committee on whatever choices that you make or recommendations, you then come back to the commission with your recommendations, and then we all weigh in. Getting feedback today as far as whether it's a 360 process could profoundly impact the cost unless you do the Wiley system does not require our HR to do anything. They work directly with the commission. What isn't flexible with that Wiley system is that they have set questions they would ask for the outside folks based on the skill sets that we would identify. And that's very customizable in what those skills are, but your form would still stand for the commissioners. That's my understanding of all of this, that we're gonna honor that work, and then it's just how we have others participate in the process, and whether it's through the Wiley system or any other consultant that others might have. I didn't have time to do a broad search, but I talked to respected people I knew. So I'm open to that. I would really like to see at least the city of Lincoln, Roseville, and Rockland, who we've all worked with this year, participate in that, because we've done a lot of work with those. I think perhaps the fire district chief, who's been very involved for several years, and maybe Chief Layton from North Tahoe, because those have also. But I'd look to Michelle and Amanda. Are there other districts that you've worked with and would like input from? If you had suggestions?
So,
Michelle, maybe you didn't hear my question.
Have any suggestions? I'm happy to follow your direction.
Okay, well, those were just some of the ideas, and maybe there's someone else you've worked with that you'd like. I think those would be my suggestions.
so what I'm getting at, right? Is there, Commissioner Eklund would like to table, not to decide today on the method. If the commission would like to table that item or send it to the Personnel Committee to come back with the recommendation after the discussion today to a future commissioner meeting for them to proceed with the method of the evaluation. Is that kind of correct?
Yeah, I feel like that's most appropriate.
All right, I believe there is a
Yes.
question. That'll be
So,
the motion.
I think fine going to the personnel committee, you know, I'm of the same assumption too, that the form that you guys did, like, would be part of anything that we do. But I am somebody who believes that it should be a third party administering it. None of us are HR people, like, you know, like you guys did your best, but you're not HR people, right? And we have a direction to go, like, and a level of professionalism that we have to have. That being said, I'm really concerned about Michelle because you waited a really long time last year for your review, and like, we don't have a personnel committee meeting, I don't think, scheduled yet. That's why you probably can't remember, because you remember everything, but I don't think there's one scheduled. And so, like, my concern is this just getting drawn out for you, you know?
Well, how much, are we, I mean.
This is $2.31. It's okay. Thank you, though.
What is, there's a rush?
This is a step increase. It's just a merit increase. This isn't any. So I'm happy to wait and until the committee and the commission is comfortable.
Okay.
Thank you, though. I appreciate you
last year
caring.
I knew it was a big deal for you.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I do appreciate that you care. But that's why I wanted to point out that is a merit increase and not, you know, like a reclassification or anything. Thank you.
Great. And then the feedback, of course, is, the feedback from commissioners is more important probably than the dollars, but what we did last year is we backdated and paid her back to the date that it was due. So that's not an issue. So I think Michelle expressed that to me as well, but I wanted to make sure we had the discussion today and talked about that.
So can I get a motion?
I motion to table the item 8B, the process of our EO for the next subcommittee meeting that can be scheduled at our earliest convenience. And evaluate the process and bring that back to the commission.
Yeah, bring that back to the commission by the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
And just to clarify, you said subcommittee, you're referring to the personnel.
Personnel
Subcommittee.
subcommittee. Sorry.
Does anybody like to second?
I'll second.
So, okay, well,
We have discussion on it just for a second.
Yes,
I'm
please-
sorry.
please
I
do.
just- I support what's been said. I have no problem with tabling this and sending it back to the Personnel Committee. But I think it's important that the Personnel Committee kind of hear the 30,000-foot conversation. I also fully support a 360. And I have been in a position as a board member doing one for my general manager. I don't recommend it. Hiring an independent firm, and I realize there are budgetary concerns, but it's worth it. Staff speaks to different people differently, and also the community does. And if it's somebody totally removed from the process, I think it gives the process more legitimacy. So I just want the Personnel Committee to hear that before we vote. I support your comments as well.
all right. With that, I'm getting to think, do I want to do roll call or do I want to do
I suggest a roll
roll
call
call?
because of
I
the
know,
nature
I
of the
just saw this
discussion.
all, I wanted to just throw it out there for you. Okay. Can I please have a roll call vote?
All right, Commissioner Eklund,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman,
Yes.
Commissioner Gustafson,
Yes.
Commissioner Landon,
Yes.
Commissioner Loman,
Yes.
Alternate Commissioner Spriggs,
Yes.
and Chair Alpine.
Yes. All right.
Chair, could I ask one more question?
Yes.
I don't know how, if you've provided, or if you want me to, the goals from last year as part of that process for Personnel Committee. So did you receive those already? If not, I did bring, bring those, and I'll hand
So
them.
I did not, because that's a closed session item, and so I would need
The
to.
goals from last year?
Not, the goals, just the goals,
Yeah.
That's fine. I thought you meant my entire evaluation.
Oh, no, no, no. The ones that you had up on the screen? Okay, yeah, no.
Everyone should have those because we sent out the presentation from the last meeting, and so you should have them, but I'll resend them.
So, with that, so the direction of the last item is, Ms. McIntyre, can we please schedule a meeting of the Personnel Committee in between now and the next LAFCO meeting? Okay, thank you very much. Now we go to item 8B. Oh. 8 alpha. 8B, oh, 8, oh, B, oh, 8 alpha
already
B.
did, yeah.
8 alpha B, Bravo, right?
Yeah, now we're on.
And now we're on the 8 of, wow, 8 alpha Bravo. Wow, now we're on 8 alpha.
Oh, thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
So this item, alternate Commissioner Spriggs had approached me about asking the incoming chair, yourself, to speak at the Joint Chambers Government Relations. And I know we're working on our policies now, but since it's not there, or we don't have one yet, I thought it would be more prudent. Cherry, I hope you, or Commissioner Spriggs, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit because I know you told me, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. And
No, for sure. So this is an opportunity that we have through volunteer work that I'm doing with the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce. My former business partner, Aldo Pinesci, he would help the Lincoln Chamber set up their government relations meetings. And in wake of his passing, the CEO of the chamber came and asked me if I would help him set these things up. So the first one that I have to set up was the joint government relations meeting that's happening next Wednesday, June 18th. And so, as you guys have all known me now for a couple of years, right, I'm big on the outreach. I talked about it throughout the strategic plan. I'm really excited for Michelle to go out and do her roadshow. We've done it in our PBA trip in DC. We've talked about our strategic plan and done some of this. So the idea is to do Placer LAFCO in practice. And so it would be a hosted conversation. Mark Lester, who's the president of the chamber, he will be hosting the conversation. And I am working to draft the questions. Commissioner Alpine, I would like to speak to the Placer LAFCO history. And then I've secured Sean Scully with the City of Lincoln to talk about the Village 5 annexation. The city manager, Dom Casey, to talk about that MSR process and the sphere of influence expansion, and then SPMUD, Carrie Huff, to talk about that work that we did in April, their MSR and the work there. And so the idea really is for Commissioner Alpine, Chair Alpine, to give the history, kind of what Placer LAFCO has been, where it's been, and just to be very honest about all of the things, but then you don't really have an effective message unless you start to talk about what those tangible examples are. So that's where the practice part comes in. And so then those other 3 individuals that have been our partners, they'll be talking about the process and their particular project that they've had with us over the last year. So Michelle and her team has actually already been really wonderful. That's what that big old box of stuff is over there, because they've got all of our strategic plans and the different things and all this stuff. So that's the vision. And I just thought with so many of us that the chair makes the most sense to do the LAFCO part, and it just so happens that he has the most experience serving from the special districts and the city and who knows what else. So that's the overall vision for this.
All right. Any questions on the staff report?
I don't have any questions. I think it's great and fully appropriate for the chair to be there on our behalf, so.
Would you accept the?
I'm going to open up to the public, and then we can all talk about this. So anybody from the public like to speak to this item? Seeing none, anybody online? Seeing none, items closed for public comment, and I'll take it back to conversation and action. No, I don't mind doing it. But I think I want to make a point though. Don't think that this is a process of, if you are a chair or any member of the commission, you could speak and talk to anybody you like. We do not have a policy, and this is not of any type of this was just more of an information, or I guess a kind of a meeting of transparency with the other commissioners. I do not plan to speak for the commission. I plan to speak as my experience as a commissioner. So that was the way that I was really planning to plan, but now you're giving me the okay, I can say something about the commission. But if you think when in doubt and you want to go, please bring it forward if you'd like to speak as a demonstration of the commission. But I just want to make it sure that everybody knows you have the ability to represent yourself and what we do, and as a commissioner to the public. And you're encouraged to do that. And until we have a policy of some sort. But this was just an act of letting you all know what is going on. So.
Okay, well, I just want to say thank you for the courtesy, and I think you're going to do a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So.
Well, can I make a motion then?
Absolutely.
All right, I'll make a motion that we authorize Commissioner or Chair Alpine to speak on behalf of Placer County LAFCO at the Joint Chambers Government Relations meeting on June 18th.
I will second.
Woo! All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Now we get to Bravo 8. 8, Charlie. Sorry.
Sure, I have to leave early.
Okay. Thank you. Please note that Commissioner Springs is and can you still hang for 7 more? We've got 4 more minutes.
Okay,
All right.
I will make this fast. So thank you, Chair. I know you didn't call my name yet, but speaking fast.
Let's do it.
Okay, so earlier, the county auditor, Andrew Sisk, spoke about the cemetery district, and I just wanted to give him, as well as the commission, some good news in that we do have a draft. There's a couple of items that we're looking into, and it's really like some historical, as you can imagine, we have historical cemeteries. And so trying to determine what specific cemetery, whether or not it's a private or a public cemetery. But otherwise, we are very, very close to having a draft for review of the 6 cemetery districts. As you know, they received the technical draft first, just to make sure we have all of our T's crossed and I's dotted. It's not for the agencies to edit, but also just to make corrections, right? So again, we're very close to that, and I'm really hoping that we could have a draft to your commission in August. So I wanted to point that out. And then also, as Chief Gao mentioned, we are working, continuing to work on his application as well as a few others. And the next one that is ready for your consideration is the SUD-B NAQ, which is about a 30-acre annexation in Lincoln. It was a cleanup item. It really just includes Highway 65, and it's for emergency service connection issues. So that concludes my report, unless you have any questions about any specific projects.
Any questions from the commission? Seeing none, ask the public. Any member from the public like to speak to any of the items in the executive report? See none, ask those online. Anybody like to speak to item 8C? Seeing none. All right, thank you very much. This is just more of a receive and file, right? Yes, receive and file. Great. That will bring us to item 9, correspondence. Executive Director McIntyre.
Again, receive and file unless you have any specific questions. I'm sorry, I didn't have my mic on. Receive and file unless you have any specific questions that I'm happy to answer.
I was just going to say, there's a lot of action in that. It's a big chunk of the agenda. Commissioner?
No,
No, okay, all right.
no, I have a comment on commissioner comments.
Okay, and this, since it is a correspondence, any member of the public like to speak to item 9, correspondence? Seeing none in the chambers, anybody online? Seeing no one online? Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to item 10, commissioner comments. I believe you have one.
I do. I think it was about a week ago, Amy sent us an email from Michael Walker about being careful about the Brown Act, and I apologize to 2 of the people involved. I was the one who put a 4th commissioner forgot and forwarded an email on this process for the executive officer's review with a 3rd commissioner on it. So I apologize to Commissioner Eklund. I think you got that apology, and to the chair, but I wanted to make sure I apologize to all the commissioners and make a recommendation because at the budget workshop before the budget committee, we also had potentially a Brown Act situation. And so I think us having some more training on the Brown Act is probably something we could put into protocols. We all have that through our various jurisdictions, and I made a faux pas and I apologize, but I want to make sure that we are definitely on any action items or anything in which we could run afoul of the Brown Act, that we are fully educated and each commissioner knows what we should do in those situations. I did talk to our legal counsel after the budget workshop because I was in the back of the room, but the dais did have a quorum at that meeting. And so how we make sure that we step aside if we need to. So just a future item for that. But again, my apologies for that, Sean, especially because I put you on for the budget committee.
No problem.
Any other commissioner comments? I just have a 1 or 2. Hey, congratulations, Sean, Commissioner Lohman, of getting a new water plant.
Thank you.
It's, you know, the thing, that's awesome. Keep going. Good, Colfax doing good things. And actually, I'd like to thank outgoing Chair Gustafson. You did a tremendous job, especially with the LAFCO going through a rapid amount of change in a short amount of time. There have been some difficulties and some challenges to navigate, and you did a wonderful job navigating those challenges. And also, I think, and you also had the rarity of serving as chair twice, and that is not something that is found common in this organization. And thank you very much for your hard work and dedication, and likewise to the commission and staff. And with that, I think we could adjourn. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
There you go. Everybody. They didn't have to walk out early.
Yeah, 1 minute.